Good morning. It's 9 o'clock in the studios of Classic 105.5 and 105.9. And good morning to our listeners in Classic 105 and 105.5. And there were viewers that just joined us in television. That's GBN's Channel 7 and Channel 11, Channel 20 if you are in cable. Or you're probably joining us via the World Wide Web at www.gbn.gd or our social media platforms, be it YouTube or Facebook. Welcome to another edition of To The Point for today, the 14th day of the month of October, and it is a pleasure being here with you. As advertised, today the conversation would surround everything agriculture, but more specifically, tomorrow's observance of World Food Day. Virtual, COVID is throwing everything into the virtual realm. It is what we now refer to as the new reality. But certainly, COVID and no COVID, it is on. And joining me this morning is my old friend, old friend indeed, the Marketing Communications Officer from inside of the Ministry of Agriculture, the man Jimmy Lindsay. Good morning to you, comrade. Good morning, Sir Lindsay. How are you?
Good, Joseph. Morning, and let I take the opportunity to say morning to your audience also. It's a long time, but all is well.
I'm happy that all is well on your side. We're going to jump straight into it. World Food Day celebration. It seems almost 2 years now that we've had much of anything to celebrate. Everything, there's no this, no that. But certainly, we're happy that this year, that World Food Day celebration, it is on virtually though. Let's talk about it as we dot the I's and cross the T's for tomorrow's observance.
Most definitely, because as you would have correctly said in your and looking at what happened last year and in times past, the World Food Day has always been a flagship event of the Ministry of Agriculture. And even last year with the pandemic, we still managed to host a scaled-down operation. This year, albeit the challenge having a spike in COVID in recent times here on Ireland, it was much more difficult logistically to arrange physical hosting of World Food Day. But as a ministry, we understand the importance of that. To go ahead with the hosting of World Food Day, albeit in a different format. We decided to have a virtual event, which will be, in my opinion, and at the end of the day, tomorrow, I'm hoping that the viewing public and all who participated will say that would have been one of the best hosted World Food Day celebration, albeit it is a virtual.
Well, I'm happy that, of course, why we added, tell me, what have we learned? Last year, we went virtual this year. Yeah. We're going virtual. Last year, we went virtual. This year, we're going virtual again. Let's do a little reflection on last year, and then we're going to get into some of the specifics of 2021. Haven't done it last year for the first time.
No. thing I can say.
That is fine. I know there's certain that people are out there waiting with bated breath and childlike anticipation for what is certainly an opportunity to move away from the so-called norm of COVID. Now, I'm assuming before you go further, this year's celebration is held. There is a team that guides what happens this year.
Future are our actions, better production.
So I'm getting the sense that this is not just a celebration where people come and they enjoy themselves, but I'm sensing that you want to start to appeal to people's consciousness of the need to take responsibility of our actions and the consequences thereof.
Section called
looking for that injection of vibes and energy, of course. Well, I've got just that. Hi, my name is Gary Mr. Smooth, and I'm inviting you to join me on the Hot Morning Show on Hot 98.5, 98.7 FM. Weekdays, Monday to Friday, 6 to 10 in the morning. I've got a healthy dose of your favorite and most infectious hits sampled with information, news, laughter, and all the other ingredients that go into making the hottest morning show on the radio, The Morning Heat. And while you're at it, don't forget to hit us up on WhatsApp, 435-7517. We've got topics, we've got discussions, calls, voice notes, and so much more. But I can't tell you everything. You gotta tune in. The Hot Morning Show on Hot FM 98.5, 98.7 with yours truly, Gary Mr. Smooth. Kaboom!
World Food Day 2021. The virtual event showcases our food heroes, modern technologies in agriculture, and ingenuity of agro-processors. Celebrate with us our achievement, creativity, and explore the many opportunities in the sector. Be entertained by the best of our cultural extravagance. Join us October the 15th via Zoom, GIS, and Real FM. Visit the Ministry of Agriculture's Facebook page for more information.
Feel good facts.
Help prevent cold and flu by washing your hands with soap and water for at least 20 seconds. That's the time it takes to remove most germs. No soap and water? No worries when you've got alcohol-based hand sanitizer.
Grenada, like many small island developing states, relies on its citizen farmers to ensure that we have good, healthy food for local consumption. As Grenadians, we must realize that it's not only the farmer, but all of us are involved in our national food systems. The clerk who orders the seeds, the customs officer who clears it, the truck driver taking it to storage, the cashier receiving payment, the farmer who plants, and the consumer who purchase are all involved. What we do in the process affects its impact on health, our environment, our economies, and culture. A good functioning food system will bring us together as families, communities, and a nation. Let us work together to strengthen our food system.
Grenada's chief medical officer has ordered that all confirmed positive COVID-19 individuals, their contacts, and members of their household must remain in quarantine or isolation for 14 days. Anyone who fails to comply with this order will be in breach of the Public Health COVID-19 Regulations 2020 and is guilty of an offense. Upon summary conviction, that person will be liable to a penalty of up to $10,000. A message from the Ministry of Health.
Looking for that injection of vibes and energy, of course? Well, I've got just that. Hi, my name is Gary Mr. Smooth, and I'm inviting you to join me on the Hot Morning Show on Hot 98.5, 98.7 FM. Weekdays, Monday to Friday, 6 to 10 in the morning. I've got a healthy dose of your favorite and most infectious hits sampled with information, news, laughter, and all the other ingredients that go into making the hottest morning show on the radio, The Morning Heat. And while you're at it, don't forget to hit us up on WhatsApp, 435-7517. We've got topics, we've got discussions, calls, voice notes, and so much more. But I can't tell you everything. You gotta tune in. The Hot Morning Show on Hot FM 98.5, 98.7 with yours truly, Gary Mr. Smooth. Kaboom!
We believe this new virus spreads mostly from person to person through respiratory droplets produced when someone who is sick coughs or sneezes. This is similar to how flu and other respiratory illnesses spread. These droplets can land in the mouth or nose of people nearby, or possibly be inhaled into the lungs. Most person-to-person spread happens when people are in close contact. It's also possible that this virus can spread when someone touches a contaminated surface and then touches the mouth, nose, or eyes.
Welcome back, and again, our apologies for that break in the live broadcast of To The Point. All things being equal and what they are, we are going to continue with the program. I guess this morning from the side of the Ministry of Agriculture, the man Jimmy Lindsay, and the conversations surrounds plans and preparations for World Food Day celebration tomorrow. Jimmy, we've highlighted the fact that it is virtual this year. We were before the break. We were speaking about the team, and we were saying that the team seems to suggest that you want to appeal to people's, to Grenadians' consciousness of the need to understand taking responsibility for what we do and what we don't do as it relates to the agricultural sector?
Sure, because you will be aware, Joseph, one of the things that we have done this year again information and achieve our objectives as a ministry. And I think, I don't want to blow, our horn, but let the public do that for us. But we are going to work definitely to make sure that the things that we have normally give and, reach out to as initiatives in the sector as a whole, we are not going to use COVID as an excuse as to not to get it done.
But you make a very critical point, Lindsay, that we talk about the new realities, and COVID has literally put us in a bind. You recognize his food prices are going up. We've had the issues with the shipping challenges and getting stuff out of Europe from point A to point B. And now more than ever, I think it has hit our consciousness, the reality that we need to continue that conversation about food, the sustainability of our people. And I'm happy that this conversation will not just be a one-off one, but one that takes us into a new dimension as we go forward. So having established that, let's set the stage for tomorrow. What happens tomorrow when you say showtime?
Definitely. So when we hit that button at 12:30 tomorrow, noon, 12:30, we start off with the opening ceremony, which we expect to last, because we want to keep the opening ceremony as tight, informative, and impactful as possible. We have some heavy rollers there. I will not, I'll just whet the appetite of your public, but they have to join. They have to join to see who are the persons. But we have persons from overseas that will give brief remarks and so forth. So we put together a very tight but yet impactful opening ceremony, and then immediately after, get into the meat of the matter. And speaking of that, one of the things, because let me just back up a little, Joseph, for the benefit of the viewing audience. You might be aware of it. Tomorrow's activity was scheduled to start at 9 in the morning, but because of the June speech, we had to make some adjustments, and we just move it up to 12:30, but nothing changes. One of the things we are very excited about tomorrow is that first segment we have on the agenda, on the program, after the opening ceremony, which is modern technology in agriculture, a Grenada perspective. And that segment really targets our schools, our students, because we want to present to them an alternative to the traditional way of farming. On island, there are greenhouses, there are aquaponics, there are different pieces of technologies that can be used to make agriculture more attractive to our students, actually whetting the appetite, giving them that sort of desire to enter into the vocation. So we have that segment that is designed. Yes, we understand that everybody will be watching, everybody will not be students that will be watching that segment tomorrow. But our hope from the use of modern technology in agriculture, a greater perspective, is that our students will be able to see and learn that agriculture has many faces to it, and there are many approaches in which they can take to pursue a successful farming venture.
It's definitely a welcomed initiative, and I'm happy that you're doing this. So we've gone through the opening ceremony. We have that element of it that showcases technology and the sector. Paint the picture. What happens for the rest of the day?
So one of the things we also do, and this year would not be no exception, although we put a different spin to it because it's a virtual activity, but we still want to reach out to our food heroes, the persons in the island that take that noble responsibility, and I use the word noble deliberately because it's a responsibility that is very, very important for the entire population, to make sure that food reaches our table. So I'm talking about the farmers, I'm talking about the input suppliers, I'm talking about everybody that is involved in the value chain. We want to recognize them. So we have segments, because it's more than one segment, but they are short segments, where we will recognize various food heroes. Again, everybody who involved, and I want to make that absolutely clear so we will not have any ambiguity surrounding this. Everybody who involved in the supply chain for food is a food hero in our opinion. They are food heroes. The sacrifice they make are worthy and commendable. We cannot acknowledge or recognize all of them tomorrow, but we hope we'll be able to do that as time goes on in the future. So we have roughly about 20 persons we want to acknowledge tomorrow for their contribution to making food available for the population of Grenada. And that is not just limited to the farmers. We are looking at supermarkets, we are looking at farmers, we are looking at input suppliers, and we just want to say openly, publicly, even on this platform this morning, thank you for being a food hero. Your role and your work is very important to us as a nation. So that is one segment. Again, I alluded to the fact earlier, one of the things that this year's celebration afforded us is to go behind the scene and show persons how things are done. So we want to highlight the services of the Produce Chemist Lab, which is a facility of the ministry, but basically serve not just the ministry, but serve the entire nation, our agro-processors and so forth. And one of the things we are going to do in that segment is to feature, again, I'm not telling you the product that we are going to feature. You have to log in tomorrow, whether it's on Zoom, Facebook, or just tune into GBN, Real FM, and all the other partners that will be partnering with us tomorrow to bring this event to you, to see what the produce will be. But we want to show you how things are made, so persons can leave tomorrow after viewing that and be able to go out and prepare for themselves a particular item of local produce. All right, so that is another item on the agenda. And just to give you, because I see that you have questions to ask, but let I just finish with the agenda, if you don't mind. Just two more activities which are very important.
Go ahead.
So we're also going to feature tomorrow 2 input suppliers. Again, I'm not saying the name. We cannot feature all of them, but we have selected 2, and they are going to do their own bit in, taking the products again and demonstrating to the stakeholders that use the product the best way to use the product, what the product entails, and so forth, so that the farmers or other persons that use that product from that input supplier will be able to realize the best benefit from using that product. And then after we have done all of this, we get into what most persons normally come to the World Food Day for, the exhibition part. So even if it is a live event, be sure tomorrow we are going to have an exhibition for you. And I'm telling you, it will be as interactive, engaging as if it were the physical exhibition that you normally would have come to in World Food Day celebrations.
Before we get into the highlighting of the products and showing the versatility of it, so because we're about to get to that, because people always get excited. The highlight of the World Food Day is when people can get there and whether it's to taste the cassava chips, the different items that represents us as a nation. How does that pan out tomorrow, given that it is a virtual space?
I like that. So what we hope tomorrow, when persons in previous occasions would have come into the celebration and they come and they taste and they sample, most persons would not have gone back off and make that particular product. So our objective this year, we are pushing the ball further down the value chain. We are pushing it down and we are putting it in the court of every citizen of Grenada tomorrow, showing you the products that you would have come into the celebration for, to taste and sample. We are going to show you tomorrow, God's will, how you can make that product from your very own kitchen so you could have it for the entire year. And that is where we think we are going to make a big impact, showing persons how to do it on their own.
And I'm assuming, because you've highlighted the fact that this was carefully thought out, and they continue to be the conversation of, you said, adding to the value chain. And I'm assuming reasonably that this is not just a one-off exercise you want to have, but you want to get people interested in the entrepreneurial side, getting them be able to, on a daily basis, you know what, I can, instead of giving my child this imported product, I can use local plantains, I can use local bananas, and this is what I can do with it.
So, Joseph, you are correct when you speak of the whole issue that it is not a one-off, and you read very correctly into our thinking behind World Food Day celebration this year. I'm not sure if it reached your desk already, but one of the things we are definitely going to do, even after tomorrow, we are going to continue to purchase airtime. In previous years, we have not done that. The airtime led up to the celebration, and after that, everything fizzled off until we come back next year again. But we want to keep some level of relevance in the media, whereby we will encourage persons, because, Joseph, we cannot deny the fact that our health is the most important thing. Without good health, everything is secondary. And the team this year speak expressly to the issue. Our actions basically holds our future. If you want a good future, you need to take the relevant actions that will guarantee this. And that is why we talk about better production. And we, in order to realize that, we are showing students how they can produce better. We are showing students alternative ways. So if you look at the program and you match it up to the team that we have, you will see the consistency in what we are going to do tomorrow.
And I think I'm hoping that the general public could appreciate this. This week I was speaking with Senator Sinclair, your representative, farmers representative in the Senate, and he was highlighting the fact that what needs to be done on a more consistent basis is to make the agriculture sector result driven. Right, where you can measure there, so there is a plan, but you can measure where is it, what is it those deliverables. Are you achieving those objectives? And I'm really happy with this, because in time past, that was one of the shortfalls of, and not just the planning committee for the for World Food Day, but I think the ministry on a whole. Yes, that you do, but that continuous conversation, and I'm happy that's where this is heading this year. But let me ask you, though, having said that, how do you plan, though, without giving out too much, though, how do you seek to ensure that conversation remains part of the general public's agenda?
I'll tell you one thing, Joseph, and I already alluded to it already. We are going to maintain a level of relevance in the media. So we spent and we put in a lot in what we have done thus far to create the build-up. We are here this morning, tomorrow again, and we have quite a few things planned. But it is not going to just fall on deaf ears and everything is just going to end tomorrow. We are going to continue to work through the mechanism that we have as a ministry, the food and nutrition. We have the school feeding program. There are different avenues we are going to ensure where there would have been bottlenecks and where there would have been limitations in really achieving what we wanted. We are going to work expeditiously to make sure that, we get into the system. When I speak to the system, I'm talking about the educational system. Our students, getting them to develop better lifestyle practices as it relates to their health. We really want to emphasize the issue of health moving forward.
I don't think it's only this week Dr. Noel was highlighting the fact that while there is the challenge with COVID, while they're recognizing less, of course, persons contracting the disease and being hospitalized, what they've noticed is that a lot more individuals have been hospitalized due to these underlying conditions, the hypertension, the diabetes, and it's important to note, I know you would agree with me, that a lot of it comes down to lifestyle choices. And I'm assuming hopefully you're looking to change the status quo, the dynamics of the generation to come. Let them get to realize that, listen, our sustainability, our survivability depends on the decision that we make to change what we eat and how we eat.
Joseph, I will tell you this, and for the benefit of the listening audience this morning. We, as a committee for this year's celebration, was absolutely adamant that we wanted the schools to be involved. So one of the first things we did early up in the game was to write through the permanent secretary to the Ministry of Education to ask for all teachers that are involved with the virtual platform teaching, that tomorrow's they will log in, and we would have seen the communication that the Ministry of Education sent out. So the Ministry of Education actually sent out that circular to all schools.
Okay.
All schools. One of the things we have to do is just to make the tweak from the 9 o'clock start to the 12:30 start. So the teachers we are expecting tomorrow, they log on. We have a Zoom. I will give that coming to the end of the program, but the schools already have the Zoom and the Facebook and what have you. So they will log on and they'll do a share screen so that the students will be able to follow through. And so we were very, very, very conscious of that. We need the students to be involved because we want to reach out to them. If we do not succeed at anything else tomorrow, but we succeed at this one thing, that we reach out to the students, we make an impact there, I will consider it to be a very successful hosting of this year World Food Day celebration.
And I think you would appreciate that we all on board with having a successful hosting of the event. But all things considered, while you may appeal to persons, you may appeal to their sense of reason, one of the challenge goes back to, Jimmy, the issue of cost of the raw material, the raw products. And you would always hear persons say, listen, I don't have a problem eating local. I don't have a problem eating healthy. But it very often comes down to be an economic decision that has to be made. Am I going to buy a bottle of imported drink that could feed 5 children? Or am I going to buy a glass of fresh fruit juice at a particular cost that I can only consume by myself? How does the ministry tend to address that, the issue of the cost of foodstuff?
Joseph, I can refer to you as my friend because we go back a long way. And if you happen to have that the ability to just drop on some of the conversation we normally have in the office in the planning unit here, amen. Just there before, one of my colleagues and myself, we had a very heated exchange on the whole issue. And I understand what it is. The situation is what it is. Food inflation across the world. A matter of fact, on BBC a couple months ago, I was reading an article, and they was talking about the world have to get used to high food prices. We talk about the whole logistics in the supply chain and the challenges and so forth. And that is why we have to concentrate as a nation to produce more, to become more independent. Yes, there are challenges because a lot of the inputs that we need for the increase in production are obviously imported, and that in itself comes with inflated prices and so forth. But I think if we were to become more committed, and my whole take on this issue of food security and the sustenance of the entire food system that we depend on for our survival. Yes, we have the issue of price, but I think it is an issue of commitment. And when I speak of commitment, I'm not just speaking of commitment from the government and from the ministry, but personal commitment. So in other words, what can I do as an individual? To ensure that I have a better diet when I go consuming produce. I can take the responsibility to produce something in my backyard. Not necessarily for commercial purposes, but for my own benefit. So we have to really create a paradigm shift in the population as a whole. Yes, it will take effort, significant effort to achieve that, but we cannot excuse ourselves anymore. Because, Joseph, like it or not, food inflation has just started. And if we think we are anywhere close to see the end of it, where we will come to a level where we will be able to easily purchase more food and better food, we are kidding ourselves. The challenges are significant, and the way we are going to navigate through that, yes, everybody has to come on board. We have to have a plan, but commitment. Every family should purpose in their household that I'm going to produce a certain amount of food. Whether it's just to plant some things in the backyard or to find a way in which they can collaborate with somebody else to have that. But we really have to look at ways, creative ways, to ensure that we become more food secure.
Would you say that COVID-19 has provided us the perfect opportunity to fast track that conversation?
Definitely, Joseph. Definitely, because you would have seen immediately after COVID. I mean, the reality haven't hit us here as yet, because inflation in the OECS region just probably a few months ago was just between this span, I think was just about 2% thereabout. But you look at the US, for example, you're talking about food inflation is 5%. If we were to achieve that level of inflation on food items, how much of our people will be able to put food on the table? So COVID itself, among all of the adversities that it presents to us as a nation, and I'm still sort of hesitant to say that it presents any benefit, because the adversities so much outweigh the benefit. But I'll say this cautiously. It presents an opportunity for us to review and create more debate in the public space as how we can address the issue of food security. Because I'm saying to us, and I'm very careful of it, that this possess significant national security risk. We may not be seeing it now, but with the rate at which prices are going up across the world, look at some nations, it is a serious national security risk. We are not taking the discussion at that level as yet, but if things do not change, sooner or later we'll be addressing food security as a national security issue.
And it's a harsh reality. We have a caller that's on the line. Good morning, caller. You're live.
A pleasant good morning to you.
Yes, go ahead, please.
I want to ask your guest, what is his organization, the group that he is representing, what are they doing to reduce predial larceny? I have noticed that is on the rise. It came on the air not too long ago. An old man had to run for his life, and I mean, all of these things are rather disheartening. I mean, see that there's only talk, but what is actually done? What is actually done to make, some of the farmers who have to go far away from home to the farm to produce food?
Okay, let's give the gentleman. I'm not sure if he comes qualified to speak on that issue this morning, but Lindsay?
What I would say to the farmer is that the cries of the farming community is deafening. It is heard. We understand the challenges. And just to give the gentleman a background, I am an employee with the Ministry of Agriculture, so it's not an organization outside anything. It's just the Ministry of Agriculture is the one that is responsible for the hosting of the World Food Day celebration. And we are just using this morning show to promote and highlight what we plan to execute tomorrow. So having said that, the issue of media larceny is one that we also include on the program tomorrow. And we have in the exhibition section a piece on media larceny and some of the initiatives. So I will advise you to log into GBN tomorrow, God's will, from 12:30, and you will definitely be appraised with some of the initiatives that the ministry is currently working on to address the issue of media larceny.
17 minutes on to the hour of 10 o'clock. We take a quick commercial break. When we come back, Lindsay, we'll talk. I can only assume reasonably that you're not doing this exercise, conducting this on your own. You've partnered with some other entities. We'll talk about that and get a greater appreciation as to the depth of the planning for tomorrow's celebration and observance of World Food Day. Quick commercial.
Sure.
We'll be right back.
It is with great pleasure that I share this message with you in commemoration of World Food Day under the theme, Our Actions, Our Future, Better Production, Better Nutrition, Better Environment, and Better Life. Many of our species of fish and fish products are consumed as food in virtually all regions around the world. Fish has been an important source of protein and other nutrients for human consumption throughout history, and the ministry, by extension government, urges the nation to ensure that fish is included in our diets going forward. I wish to reinforce the consumption of nutritious foods coupled with regular exercise, for this would certainly do wonders for the preservation of our nation's population. Happy World Food Day to all.
Grenada, like many small island developing states, relies on its citizen farmers to ensure that we have good, healthy food for local consumption. As Grenadians, we must realize that it's not only the farmer, but all of us are involved in our national food systems. The clerk who orders the seeds, the customs officer who clears it, the truck driver taking it to storage, the cashier receiving payment, the farmer who plants, and the consumer who purchase are all involved. What we do in the process affects its impact on health, our environment, our economies, and culture. A good functioning food system will bring us together as families, communities, and the nation. Let us work together to strengthen our food system.
We just had there some advanced greetings from the Agricultural Minister, Yulan Bain, and Peter David. Prior to the break, Mr. Lindsay, for those who are just joining us, welcome to the program. My guest this morning was from the Marketing and Communications Officer from the side of the Ministry of Agriculture, Jimmy Lindsay. And Jimmy, we're talking all things and plans and preparations for tomorrow's luncheon and execution of World Food Day celebration. We've said a lot. We've highlighted the strategic plan, the mindset going forward. But Tomorrow's event, certainly you've partnered with a lot of individuals to make not just tomorrow's the celebration a success, but the rollout and the continuity and the realization of your objectives for in order for it to be a success. There are other partners that's involved, and I know the MNIB sits dead center as part of that plan. Let's talk about the involvement and the relationship that they serve.
So, as you correctly said, Joseph, there is no way the Ministry of Agriculture in and of itself would be able to execute any activity like this World Food Day, because there are so many stakeholder groups that are involved. In particular, you're correct in mentioning the role of NNIB as a critical stakeholder, a critical partner in these sort of activities that the ministry would engage and host from time to time. But we also have the Food and Nutrition Council, which is very important. They serve also on the planning committee for this year's celebration. We have the school feeding program, which again is very important. Cannot emphasize sufficiently how thankful we are for the role that they are playing in presenting to our students healthy, nutritious food. And we want to work more with the school feeding program to ensure that this objective is realized. And we have, well, obviously the FAO, because World Food Day celebration is not just local or regional, but it's an international celebration where the stakeholders in the food systems in all the nations of the world are basically highlighted, recognized, celebrated for their involvement and their contribution. So we recognize all of these. We work closely as we plan for this year's celebration with our input suppliers also. Again, I said tomorrow we'll be featuring two. I will not mention the name, but I encourage your viewing audience to log in and you will see who they are and the display that they will be making. But I guarantee you it will be a very informative display, especially for the persons that use the products of these input suppliers. So Joseph, all in all, we are thankful for the contribution of our partners. You are correct in highlighting the Marketing and National Importing Board. We have the GNFC, we have the school feeding, we have the Pridia Lassini, and there are so much. So I don't want to be held, responsible for not mentioning all names this morning, but we thank each and every one for their contribution and their continued role in making Grenada a food secure nation.
What is the plan? A question that's coming here. What is the plan to answer the question of food security in the face of the current challenges of climate change? How is that question being answered?
Joseph, we need as a people to have a frank discussion on the way forward, because you listen in all quarters of society. You hear the discussion on the blocks, you hear it in the shop, you hear it in the schools, you hear it in the workplaces, and it's a buzzword: food security, food prices, inflation, and all of those things. But we now need to take this at the policy level, where we sit down and have a frank discussion as to what we really want to do. There are some things in the pipeline, but we need to put more lands under production. We need to develop more industry. The mindset that would have prevailed historically, and I understand the challenge that we are faced as a nation. I'm not ignorant of it. Our culture influences the way we do things. We cannot separate that. How we function, how we behave is a result of our culture. But we need to create a new paradigm in our thinking. It's not production for export only. We need to develop industries. We need to develop more industries whereby we can have greater use of the products that we produce locally and have greater spillover from it. But again, I understand the question of the comment of the viewer. A lot of things must be done. We need to take that very seriously. And I'm assuring that view, I don't know who it is, that there are a lot of things in the pipeline and they are going to be rolled out as we move forward into the near future.
There's a caller on the line. Good morning, caller. You're live.
Chauku, we want to know about Chauku World Food Day. Chauku not involved? Only Grenada, the mainland?
Definitely, Joseph. I take the lead to answer the question before you even ask me to give a comment. So sorry, because I hear in the caller voice the passion. Carriacou is definitely involved. So Carriacou is definitely involved. Definitely.
Indeed, there's so many questions that can be asked, and while we applaud, I know this has to be an ongoing conversation. The role of MNIB, the role of all of the stakeholders. Do you get the sense, though, that where we are now, because that question that came from social media, the question of climate change, it is one that would no doubt affect our quest for food security. What do we plant? When do we plant it? Where do we plant it? In what quantity?
Yes, Joseph. The only person that is not sensitive to the issue of climate change, probably a person who would have been in a coma for the last 10, 15 years. Because the issue of climate change is being seen and being felt. I am not going to get involved into the cause and the reason behind climate change. But what I'm going to say is that we need to adapt to the reality that we are faced with. And there are a lot of partners that the Ministry of Agriculture are working with, international partners. We have engaged with our farming community on many occasions to present to them new technologies, new ideas, new methods as to how to go about it. But I am certain that the ministry has not and will never drop its guard with regards to the issue of climate change. It's something that we treat as very, very important, and our extension services and all that is involved with interfacing with the farming community and other stakeholder groups, we are always ready to present to them new ways. The issue sometimes is, no, Joseph, as much as you might hear criticism leveled against the ministry, it has to do a lot in several of the cases that our people are not all time inclined to accept new practices, because again, that is the way they have been doing a particular thing. So we have to be more subtle. It's not a heavy-handed approach. It calls for a collaborative effort with several other stakeholder groups, whereby we can present a more subtle but effective way of getting the information across as it relates to climate change and the other challenges that we are faced with in the agriculture sector, so that persons can adapt and change the current way of operating.
On the subject of our current way disposition, as we get ready to wrap, I know you have a marketing background. How critical is it as we get to the conversation of promoting local food? How much effort is being placed into the packaging, the line distribution of local products? Take, for instance, we all know that a packet of local plantain chips is much healthier than some imported product. But you can't deny the fact that if a child goes to the supermarket and he has to pick one that comes in a clear local plastic wrap with not much labeling, and one that comes with all of the workings and the colors, you will know which direction they're going to go. What is the plan as it relates to introducing a business component to the industry that allows for individuals like myself, that who would have possibly imagined a guy with a marketing background sits in the Ministry of Agriculture? Is this the paradigm shift that we are talking about?
Joseph, I want to thank you so much for that question because it allows the ministry to give a definite answer to something that is so pertinent in the community. And when I say community, I'm talking about the whole stakeholder community for agriculture. I cannot answer that question without addressing the issue again of culture. Joseph, we as a people, we have to learn to work together. We have to learn how many functional cooperatives we have here after all these years of pushing initiatives to form these groups. You see, some of the things that you speak of, when you look at the countries you import these items from. And let us take, for example, because you raised the whole issue of plantain chips. The plantain chips that you're referring to, I'm certain these are the ones that come from Costa Rica. And you look at the company that produces in Costa Rica, you will see it is a farmers cooperative. It isn't a one-man stand alone. And unless we come as a people where we can trust one another, we can deal with one another with integrity and honesty, so we can form these groups without bickering and pulling apart and all of these things which are not good for group dynamics. If we can come together and do that, then we will be in a position where we will be able to realize the economies of scale to produce these items at competitive prices. You see, a lot of the issues we are faced with is because we are not producing at the scale, i.e. economies of scale. So the costs are exorbitant. But if you take, let me say, all the farmers in the Belvedere area, or take farmers in a particular location, and we want to build industries there, get persons to work as a group or in cooperatives, we'll definitely be able to do wonderful things in the sector, Joseph. Definitely.
The one last thing I have for you, it's your final comment, but I think before there's a caller that's waiting in the wings. Good morning, caller, you're live.
Hi, good morning to you.
Just go ahead, please.
Your guest. He used a word that was at the tip of my tongue, paradigm. As I was trying to say earlier in the week when Mr. Sinclair was there, we are in 2021, but we're operating in a paradigm that belonged to the colonial days. A paradigm where agriculture meant producing raw materials for export. Not even food security played a part. The workers were supposed to go in the edge of the mountain and get a little plot and plant a little things to survive. But the emphasis was on producing for export, not on feeding ourselves, not on having industries or value added. And up to today, we're still doing the same thing. We're still growing soursop for export in a crate or in a crocus bag. And unless we change that old colonial paradigm and look at food for what it is, and look for agriculture for what it offers us, not just in farming, but many other opportunities for employment in our country. An industry where only 40% consists of farming, the other 60% is everything else but farming. Unless we change that old colonial paradigm, we're not going to be able to feed ourselves, and we're not going to be able to get the benefits of agriculture.
Great, thank you very much, sir. Appreciate it.
Limited time.
I'm going to give you 30 seconds to comment on the caller, and the other 30 seconds to wrap. And I know your maths is good.
So, sure, Joseph. So, I just want to say to the caller, you are correct. We need a paradigm shift, and we cannot operate in the same status quo if we are going to realize the objective of food security, definitely. I just want to say, because Joseph didn't talk about it for the viewing public, you can log on, obviously, via GBN Network Facebook page, Real FM tomorrow. But those of you who may not be able to, you also have Zoom, where you can log in tomorrow also. And I just want to give the Zoom ID. It is 827-1777 8666. So I know it is fast, but we can get it again throughout the course of the day. I sure Joseph will do us a favor to run it when they run the ads for tomorrow. But we look forward to tomorrow. We have a planned program that we hope will captivate your attention and give you information that you yourself can take and practice in your daily activities.
And for those of you who probably wondering, he definitely will be back on tomorrow with that final push before the start of the program. We'll be on with a representative from the MNIB tomorrow as part of the final thrust towards greater sensitization as to the plans for the planning committee for this year's World Food Day celebration. It kicks off at 12:30 tomorrow afternoon. Jimmy Lindsay, the Marketing and Communication Officer from the Ministry of Agriculture, all the best, wishing you all of the success tomorrow. And you and I want to sit and have this conversation, maybe over a nice bowl of pea soup and maybe callaloo soup and some local lemons, some lemon juice.
Yeah, this is for the morning, Joseph.
All the best, Jimmy. Take care, comrade. Take care.
Yes, thank you.
Folks, this is where we leave the conversation for now, reminding you World Food Day celebration takes place tomorrow, and we want to say thanks to the Ministry of Agriculture and all of its stakeholder partners that's involved in making not just tomorrow's event a success, but the strategic plans that have been rolled out, that they would realize them somewhere down the line. All the best. So now JC loves you. This is where I say my so long farewell goodbye to you. The good Lord's willing, I'll be back with you tomorrow morning from 6 o'clock. Wishing you all the best. Have yourself a wonderful day.